Hello, everybody, and welcome to One Day Today. We are already on episode 31. It's kind of amazing. We've had over 100 guests already, and we're just getting started. There's been so many amazing people. I was just talking to our both our guests, and there's so many amazing people that are just coming to share with us, and I'm so excited about our both our guests today. In this new experience of the world, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of conversations, that lead us to follow and believe fear and believe the conversation of separateness and division. And we are focused on the beauty that is in the world that is already happening with amazing people who are just being part of something much bigger than themselves. We are what we focus on, and I see, you know, even amidst a pandemic and all the civil rights unrest and all the recent events in the world, we're all being pointed to this, how not only how connected we are globally, but it's just how much we're affected by how our neighbor, the welfare of our neighbor. And when ultimately, at the end of the day, when our neighbor and their family is safe, when our neighbor and their family is healthy, that ultimately like makes me and my family healthy and safe. And I feel like that's something that everyone is beginning to discover and distinguish for themselves. And I'm just so excited to just have this space where people who who are doing amazing things can just share their story and share themselves and share the gift that they are. And I'm really excited. I'm going to invite and welcome my co-host Matthew. Matthew is in a beautiful. I'm kind of jealous. He's in the great outdoors. How's it going today, Matthew?
It's going good today, man. Yeah, just felt like trying something different. Instead of sitting in that little white room, bringing it out to nature and letting myself feel this. Um, Speaking of beauty, I'll give you guys a quick tour of where I'm at. It's amazing that in the midst of all this craziness, how easy it has been, especially for me. I've found myself caught up in a lot of these conversations you were just alluding to. And when I really stop and step outside and pay attention to what's really going on here now in this moment, it's so peaceful. It's absolutely beautiful. And those conversations, I get it and I appreciate them. Um, that I feel like in a lot of ways they need to happen for people to explore that fear and get over it. But this is what we have to come back to
Hmm.
when it gets too overwhelming, you know?
Right, right. It's a lot of turmoil that points us to something's not working, and when we actually look at within ourselves for our own reaction, or how that occurs to us, how it exists in our life, we can reframe our own context. And I see, like, it's so easy to get drawn into negativity. There's a part of us, with it. We all have our small self, our ego, or, well, I always say this: our flesh, our shadow, our ego, our it, whatever vocabulary you use to describe the same phenomenon as I see it. That voice, it always wants to make us feel separate, and it wants us to focus on our survival. But you're like, I love what you're saying, because peace is so accessible, in our when we can, like, bring our own space to that, and find our own peace in our own space, and then we can bring that to our outer external spaces. So I'm honestly a little bit jealous that it looks beautiful there. I want to invite our first guest. I'm really excited to have Patrick Long. He's an author. I just received his book. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I want to let him share about that. But welcome, Patrick. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you held up the right book. That actually was my book. But, no, I'm really thrilled to be here. Thank you guys for doing this show. I mean, this to me, I'll get into it in a minute, but part of, what I did was share my story in my book. And, I watched a few episodes of your show, and you guys, the power of what you're doing can't be overstated. This is so amazing to, one of the greatest opportunities I've had so far since I published the book is had a lot of people read it already. It's done very well, international bestseller on Amazon in multiple categories. But the key thing from all that is I've had people I don't even know, friends of friends of friends who I've never met, or other people coming back to me and, like thanking me for writing it and sharing my story. But the better part of that is they're sharing their stories with me. And it's just been absolutely amazing. One of them, a guy he's kind of an old family friend, but I haven't talked to the guy in 30 years, but he's worked out in Hollywood for years, and he's had some trials and problems out in what he's done. But he years ago had a friend who was also a Hollywood person, a writer on some shows you'd know. And this gentleman contracted cancer, and our friend did a documentary because they knew it was terminal cancer, and basically did a documentary of the last several months of his life, which I'd never known about because it never actually been produced or published. But he shared the link with me, and I actually went out last night and watched it. And oh yeah, just absolutely amazing. And the spirit these people showed, and the way the community came together around, this gentleman, and old friends and colleagues and people were coming, and being with him and sharing old stories with them, and the humor they all had and the spirit they all had. That's part of what you guys are doing. Just this whole everybody communicating, sharing our stories, realizing how much we have in common, realizing even when our experiences are different in certain ways, there's commonality between them, and reminding each other, it's okay. It's okay when you have bad thoughts, or it's okay when you have problems, or you don't do well, or, we need to keep reinforcing that, because when we go off on an island and stay within our own thoughts, that's when things get bad, but when we sit here and share. So, I'm here because I wrote an entire book about sharing. My book is technically a memoir. I tell people not to call it that because to me, the word memoir sounds boring. It sounds like some guy writing about his time in Congress. But my story, it's nonfiction. It's a true story. My wife last year died from breast cancer. She had about a 3.5-year battle with breast cancer. And the story is framed around the last several weeks of her life. After a lot of medical problems over 3+ years and things, she began having strokes. And that just set a lot of things in motion. And the story is framed around those last several weeks. And the thing is, that might sound very sad, and it is. It's sad and it's tragic in a lot of ways. But part of the feedback I get from people is how uplifting the story is, because the attitude we had and the way we approached it and the lessons we learned and I share coming out of that. And I don't, and that's one of the things, again, like part of the huge thing I've learned from all this is the power of sharing our stories in the community. First of all, not only people sharing their stories with me is great, but also just seeing how awesome people are. I mean, from the time she was diagnosed, we got so much support from our community. People just coming and doing things for us I would have never even thought to do for anyone. We were going through some really hard times with her and chemo and having surgeries and different things like that. And we come home one day and somebody had landscaped our lawn. Like, I never would have even thought to go do that for someone. You get people bringing over food or this or that, but people just coming over doing stuff for us. We don't even know who did it. We never found out. Somebody just came over, landscape, and did we really need our lawns landscape? In a way, no, but in a way it was awesome, because it was something where our lawn was kind of messed up, years of us not taking care of it as well because we were dealing with other things. And just to have that off your mind and be able to come home every day and it looks fine and you don't have to worry about it or think about it anymore. And also every day that reminder walking in the door that somebody cared enough to do that, and I could give you so many examples of things like that, people did for us along through this whole battle, that I could just go on for hours about. But I don't just want to talk about the book. My story and the book are kind of the same, because throughout the story, while it's framed around the last several weeks of her life, I go back and tell a lot of my own backstory, our backstory in our marriage, bringing the reader in, understanding why, giving context and perspective, getting to know us, understanding why the things that were happening to us, how and why they impacted us in particular the way they did. And that's where people are really connecting with it. But just to forget about the book itself and just share my story in general, a lot of this is in the book. The two go hand in hand because it is a true story. But to go back kind of early on, and I'll go through this quickly, but I grew up in an atmosphere. I had a good childhood, but at the same time, there's issues, problems, and where I grew up, there was a lot of people were very, for one, competitive, two, very judgmental, different things like that. And for that, many reasons, I really grew up with a huge inferiority complex. Like, I wanted to succeed in sports, but I didn't have the confidence, all these different things. And it really drove me into some bad places. I tried to go to college and pretty much failed miserably for 3 or 4 years, just basically failed out, flunked out, and was just going down a horrible, horrible path of a lot of self-destructive behavior. And one day I just kind of had this moment where I just realized, it shouldn't be this way. And I had a lot of self-doubts. Like I said, I had an inferiority complex. I didn't really believe I was good enough to succeed. I didn't believe as just a person that I deserved it. And it was kind of logic that kind of drew me out of that, because I hit an age and realized, like, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm a person like anybody else. And I just found a perspective, and I went back to college at a different college, a smaller college, and just kind of picked myself up and rebuilt myself basically over the next 4 years, and did very well. I ended up, for the first time in my life, I got a 4.0 one semester, did that a couple more times later. And ended up graduating from college and doing very well, and basically built up a level of self-esteem and confidence. And that brought me to meeting my wife, Melanie. And she was basically about as opposite of me as you could be. She was, she had more friends than anyone I've ever met. She could connect with people in minutes and be like they were best friends. I used to jokingly call it the Melanie interrogation. She would meet a completely new stranger and would just start digging into their life in a way that I don't, to this day, as many times as I watched her do it over the years, I don't know how she did it. I couldn't do it. If I started doing that to someone, they'd think I'm a freak, and they'd probably be scared of me, wondering what I'm doing or why I'm asking these questions. But she could just connect. And when I first kind of saw her doing this when we were dating, I just realized I was in a new world. And and it was an awesome world, and that's what I wanted in my life. And that's how we ended up getting together. Over the years, we had a great time. We did not have a perfect life, but we had a very good relationship, very good marriage. We were together for a few years before we started having kids, and then we had kids. We ended up having 4 kids together. And around the time she was pregnant with our 4th, she got diagnosed with a rare condition called Wegener's. It's kind of described as an autoimmune deficiency, presented her lungs. So we had a medical battle going on with that for about a year. It's not a cancer, but the treatment actually of it was a kind of mild form of chemo. And another point before that, which is very relevant to our story, is I had started my own business. I ran it for a while. And ultimately, for some very bizarre reasons, it was actually going well in certain ways, but we ended up closing it down. You can call it a failure. I kind of don't look at it that way, in a sense, for reasons that I believe we build upon our failures and that. But essentially, we now had multiple kids. We had her dealing with this Wegener's, racking up medical bills. We had poured every penny we had into that business, so we were basically broke. And so we're really trying to climb out of a hole, and dealing with a lot of stuff. And then the next year, about the time we were kind of finally getting over the Wegener, she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And that was her worst fear, because, excuse me, her mom had died of breast cancer when she was 9 years old. So that one hit kind of hard. So we did about a 3.5-year battle. She started having strokes in early 2019. And we excuse me, we went through several weeks of dealing with that, and she ultimately passed away. And in the story of all that, again, we just learned so much about community, friendships, relationships. Again, from her being who she was, she just taught me so much about relationships and people, because from the way I'd grown up before I met her, even when I dealt with my problems and grew some self-confidence and self-esteem, I also, I had friends. I wasn't antisocial or anything like that, but it was kind of just friends go out and have fun with, do things with. They weren't real deep, meaningful relationships. But she not only showed me more about that, but she even showed me how to appreciate and understand the many different levels and tiers of relationships, which is something I didn't really realize or take into account. How much even just casual friendships, people in your community that you don't see that often can enrich your life so much. And I think now I've lived it and I've seen it. And I've seen that in, like, excuse me, some of the things I've talked about with how our community came together for us. I mean, people were doing things for us that, whether it was landscaping our yard or mowing our yard or leaving food for us or dropping things off, gifts, things, or just being there supporting us, helping out, helping watch the kids when Melanie would have to go in for a treatment or was having a surgery. I came to realize how much community matters and how much people supporting one another and doing for one another, really matters. So that's just a huge part of the story. Coming through that, in my book and just our life story anyway, I go into some other things that I wanted to make it real. I didn't want to sit there and pretend Melanie and I had some perfect relationship and, whatever. So, I dealt with some marital turmoil, some things we had. We had a few very big blowout fights, times you question your relationship, your marriage, should you even be here? And just being honest on that on a level. There's times through that and through dealing with her and what she was going through medically, you can get into some very bad places, have some very bad, dark thoughts. Things overwhelm you. A phrase I've come to just adopt and I realize and I take to heart all the time is I think, the lesson I learned from it is you often can't control the thoughts and feelings you have when you get into those places. Sometimes they just overwhelm you, but you can control what you do with them. You can control, how you how you react, how you come out of it, what you learn from it, and then what you do with that moving forward. Which is why, I've wanted to be a bigger part of my community. I wanted to help people out, support people more, not just our neighbors and our friends. When I say community, I'm talking on a big level, big scale. You kind of start with what's near you, but society as a whole. And I look at different organizations, one that played a big part in our life was American Cancer Society, supporting them, giving back to them. I mean, those things make a huge difference in our world. They provide a lot of services to cancer patients. They, also fund research for a cure, which, and better treatments, which is just so important to all of us. I quit looking at things like donating to an organization like that. I don't even think of that as a donation anymore. I think of it as an investment in our future, our own collective future. So there's so many lessons there, and just to unpack all that. And again, I think one of the things in my book that has resonated with people, why it's touching them and connecting with them so deeply, and they're getting back to me and sharing their stories, is it's not just a cancer story. It's about so much of life. It's about those marital issues and other relationship issues and what I learned about those and how I dealt with them and how that felt, came together into context of what was happening to us. That whole story and my life and what's gone on. And, that's what my book's about. That's where I came to connect with you guys, where I've seen now your show and what you guys are doing with different people coming on, sharing their experiences, their stories. And just seeing again how much that matters, how much we all learn from each other. I don't look at it as much as I believe my story is so good, so powerful. I don't look at it as, my story is any more compelling than someone else's. I'm not wiser than someone else. Like, hey, I'm here to teach you. It's not about that. It's just about me sharing, because everyone who shares, everyone has something to share. And part of the reason mine's out there and powerful is simply that I was willing to do it. And as a younger man, when I was less secure with myself, had less self-esteem, I wouldn't have had the strength and the courage to share those things. I would have been too afraid. Now, I was afraid anyway. Some of the things I shared were pretty dark to the point where I was really afraid how people were going to see me and view me and think of me. And, fortunately, being honest, being candid, the result's been the opposite. I've had a lot of people just really appreciate what I've done, thanking me for writing it, things like that. But again, one of the best parts of that is how much these other people have shared their stories with me and what I've been able to learn from them as along with, as part of that process. So, um, you know, without rambling on, I think that, that kind of tells you the core of my story and what I've gone through, what I wrote about and what I've lived through. And that basically covers what I want to share with you.
Thank you for sharing, Patrick. I think it's incredible that not only have you, I mean, you've been through so much with, I mean, I can only imagine the grief and all you went through, but you've created something to empower other people, and that's such an admirable thing. And I'm kind of sensing a connecting. Everything you said really resonated, and I'm sensing there's what you were saying about sharing kind of what embodies the whole purpose of this virtual stage, and honestly this movement. And I just want to hear like your experience of sharing, because this is always the case in my experience. It's like there's always something you or I or everybody is dealing with that they're afraid of in their life, and something, and it's like it's always in the sharing of that one thing that we're afraid to even say and look at ourselves is the one thing that actually opens up our life and transforms our experience of our reality in ways that we never even thought possible. And like, what was your experience of that? Because it's just the sharing is such a gift, and I never occurred like, you hear as a kid, sharing is caring, but you don't really know what that means. But like, there is so much power in sharing vulnerably, and I just want to hear more about your experience with that.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said is true and so much more. I mean, it is. It's sharing isn't just caring. It's so much more than that. It's everything, really. I mean, our relationships with people and how we deal with things. If you really think about it, relationships are the core of absolutely everything. And that's something Melanie really revealed to me and taught me. Everything we do for one another, is some sort of relationship. Writing a book, it's a relationship between me and the reader. But exactly, like, the greatest things I was scared of that I shared in this book, sharing it from the heart, sharing it honestly, even when it's hard to do and scared me to do and was upsetting, are the things that are connecting with people the most, and things that people are the most thankful for. Honestly, I really wasn't expecting that. I felt compelled to do it anyway. I've wanted to be an author my whole life. I've thought of this since I was very young. I actually wrote my first book back in the 90s. So, this is something I've been working towards and wanting to do for years. And even thinking to myself as an artist in writing, which being an artist, you got to bare your soul. Like that's, to me, like that's the first thing about being an artist is you're going to bare your soul. You're going to get real. Even knowing that, I still thought a lot of what I was writing might just make me look like a jerk. I'd really use a stronger word than jerk, but I don't know if you want me cursing on your show. But, I just really, I thought a lot, both in terms of just the community in general, friends of Melanie's, my own family and siblings, some of the things I shared about childhood. The response I've gotten has been just nothing but good. I mean, just nothing but people just overwhelmed, thankful for what I'm sharing. And that, to me, to an even greater extent than I realized months ago or a year ago, just shows you how much we have in common. And that's the whole thing about sharing, and even if you're not going through the same thing, others are feeling the same kind of thing, even through maybe a different experience, and knowing, hey, yeah, I'm going to have bad thoughts. I'm going to get selfish at times. I'm going to doubt things or, and worse, and have some really bad, dark thoughts at times. Everybody does. And, it's what you do with that. And us sharing that together really helps us all understand what we're going through better, how we can support each other, how we can help each other. I mean, I actually randomly walked into a store the other day, actually to ship a book to someone. It might even been the one I shipped to you. I don't know. But I walked in, and the woman who worked in the shipping place when I was filling out the thing had read my book and started sharing me. And she'd had this horrible car accident where she actually had her like skull, and you could actually see part of her skull's like indented, and they had to do surgeries. And she's sharing this whole experience with me and telling me all this she'd gone through in recovery and having to basically relearn to walk and going through all these surgeries. and it was amazing. It was just so powerful, like what she dealt with, what she went through. And if I hadn't shared my story, I would have never learned her story, and just, man, getting to know so many different people on so many levels and hearing them share their thoughts and their experiences, that's for me better than me sharing mine, because I'm just continuing to learn from this. I'm continuing to see other things. And the thing is, I think we as humans, you don't just learn that and that's it. Like, we need this reinforced. And that's even more why shows like yours or what we're doing is so important, because even after everything I've gone through and everything I've learned, I still have terrible days and days I just sit there and doubt myself and, feel like everything's caving in on me. I was having a really bad day yesterday, as a matter of fact. And hearing other people's stories, sharing, getting on a show like this, hearing everybody talking, sharing, it reinforces you. You realize, I'm going to get through this, and things are going to get better. We're going to work it out. Other people have done things more courageous than I've done. Other people have been through even worse experiences. And, hearing those, learning them just puts it all back in perspective. And we need to be reminded of that. You don't just learn it once and that's it. You just go confidently through the rest of your life. It doesn't work like that. That's why this sharing like this is so important.
Yeah, it sounds like you kind of discovered the secret of Melanie's superpower.
In a lot of ways, but I still can't recreate it. Not the way she did,
Maybe it was just for her, but like, I totally get that. Having people tell me their entire life story within the first 5 minutes that I meet them.
Yeah.
And like, that's where it seems to come from, is that authenticity that you're talking about, where like, I'm willing to share anything. Like, I don't hold back.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to create this space of them feeling safe enough to share whatever they have going on. And like you said, like that's like the secret power. And I love how you put it, that relationships are the core of everything in our world. Because I totally feel that. Like, when I am at my most depressed is when I'm the most self-isolated.
Yeah.
And sometimes, even recently, sometimes just having this show, like forcing myself to come out here and do this, be here for this, is enough to bring me out of it. Because like, this is the reminder that, oh yeah, like, I need to talk to people.
Yeah. Right. And right now, with all our lockdowns and self-isolation for COVID, it's probably more important than ever, because we're all living in our houses and not going out anywhere right now.
A lot of us, yeah. It's an interesting time, and I love what it's bringing about. Like, I don't appreciate, like, watching the chaos and the heartbreak and the trauma that's coming out of it is not easy to witness. But it feels like, in the long run, this is something that we needed. Like, this is something to break humanity out of a pattern that we've been stuck in, this self-destructive cycle of well, in the United States, vanity, but in other places, fear, greed, whatever. Just shaking things up. And that's not always a bad thing. Like, one of the things I appreciate about, like, you being brave enough to share your book, to share your story in your book, is the way it reframes a lot of things that people have used to hold themselves back. That death isn't necessarily the awful thing that we think it is. Like, yeah, it really sucks losing someone that you're so connected to. It's awful. But is it the end of them? Is it the end of their story? No. Like,
right.
Melanie's living on through your story and your work now.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're here doing, what you're here sharing, wouldn't be possible if it hadn't been for your experiences.
Right. Yeah. A phrase I come back to all the time that I would share with people. A lot of friends and family who are sad too, even, the day of her funeral. And right off the bat, it's like, look, don't think of this as a tragedy. It only would have been a tragedy if we'd never had her in our lives.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
It doesn't get rid of all the pain, but but it's certainly a true perspective. I mean, I really do believe that. Like, I'm a way better person than I ever would have been if it hadn't been for her.
Well, like the question is, would you even want to get rid of all the pain?
Oh, yeah. Maybe more of it. But yeah, I get your point though. Yeah, the pain teaches you a lot of lessons. It reminds you a lot of things. You know, it's there for a reason. But you can't let it overwhelm you or overcome you. You got to control it. You can't let it control you.
Yeah, I absolutely see that. And that's one thing. I mean, for me, art, and that's, I know, I'm sure it's similar in your experience of writing, and in, you know, art. It's same with music. It's when you put out your pain, when you put it, separate it from yourself, you see that you have pain, or you have thoughts, you have feelings, but you possess those, but those aren't, you are not your pain. And when you actually have, when you have an artistic expression, and this is why I love the blues music, it's you put something that is your pain, that you feel is your pain, and you separate it from yourself, and you're like, look at it, like, there it is, I see it, there it is, that's where that feeling comes from. And there's so much power in just separating yourself from the pain that we experience. I really appreciate you sharing with us, Patrick, your story and your book, and it's really inspiring, and that, you know, you have had the courage to write it and to share with us, and just to be contributing to people who, you know, who are still finding the way out of their own pain.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you. This is awesome. I can't say enough how great it is that you're doing this show, and it's just wonderful.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. We're gonna check in with our next guest in a moment. We're gonna bring you back at the end, though. We want to circle back with you in a moment, Patrick. But thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks.
So thank you all for tuning in with us. You know, we want to invite you to be a part of our virtual stage. I want to give you an opportunity to share your unique gift, your unique passion, skill, talent. We want to contribute the gift of who you are, and this is an open invitation, and we encourage you to share with us. There's so much. I've experienced so much since my first share, you know, and I was afraid to share, but I saw there's so much power, as Patrick was just explaining, there's so much power when we have the courage to step up and share our struggle, what we had to overcome. And it's in that sharing that allows other people to have the courage to share themselves. And it's, so even if you don't know what your gift is, and even if you're unsure and you feel you kind of want to share, but you're not sure, that's the sign that you're ready to share. If there's something that you're not sure about, that's when it's time. And I will tell you, I will guarantee and promise you that you will gain something that you didn't even expect out of it, by sharing. But we want to invite you. So go to our website, onedaymvmt.org/virtual stage sign up. I'm really excited about our next guest. But this has been a really cool conversation in general. But our mission here at One Day, you know, is bringing you and I and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. And that's really what we're doing, one conversation at a time. And this is what this space is for. So I'm really excited to have our next guest. I'm going to invite Dheraj Singh. Hello, Dheeraj.
Hi, Abram. Hi, Matthew. Thank you for having me in here. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. It's really fun, you know, having around with you and watching your different people coming in and expressing their stories, and you guys, you know, having a good time, crossing some questions, and it's really value add. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. We're so happy to have you. I'm really excited to hear your story. I just want to let you jump in. So, Dheeraj, the stage is yours.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Abram. And I really thank all of you viewers out there who are watching, you know, us. I am Dheraj from Shivu Consulting. I'm basically a business development consultant. I primarily help coaches, consultants, and small business owners under size 10 in terms of their, you know, taking their business from a traditional way to online platforms. That's about me regarding the profile. Let's go back a bit. I'm going to talk about my story, how I started, and what got me to the point where I am today. Well, basically, I was born and raised in India, did my schooling, and did my mechanical engineering in there, and got a job. And I used to work with the clients like Cisco Systems and Sprint Managed Services. That's all primarily the technology giants, mostly into computer network troubleshooting and all that hardcore IT stuff. Then one day I realized that is it something which I'm okay to do for long term? Because I'm not a kind of a guy who like to work for someone else. I want to do something of my own. So what I was thinking is, okay, why not go ahead and do something related to business management so I can plan my own business? Because I don't want to be stuck here working for someone else, even if it is like giants like those, big companies. So what I decided to, go ahead and do some MBA. So when it comes to MBA, I was like, why doing an MBA from one of those general colleges? I'm looking for one of the best universities in the world. So I went on and checked out the financial ranking, top business schools in the world, checked out 100 top 100 business schools in the world, and applied to it. So I got the invite from a couple of universities. So one of the universities that's based out of Glasgow, UK, I got the invite, I got the interview call, and I cracked it. It was really a grilling interview. It was the academic director who took it. Why do you want it? Why are you the right person to do it? What skills have you got, and things like that. So basically, since I belong to a business family, so since my childhood, we used to have this business discussion on, even in our dinner table all the time. So I was quite comfortable with the business skill set. And then the technology side, which I've learned working with one of those, technology giants. So finally, I got the admission. I did my MBA specializing in business strategy. So when I was doing, presentation, because there are a lot of group works and presentation activities going on in MBA. So when I was doing it, so my friends, my colleagues, or my classmates realized that I'm pretty good at presentation. So one of them suggested me is, why don't you go ahead and try one of those colleges? Maybe a teaching profession would be a good fit for you. So after doing my MBA, from Glasgow, I moved down to London, and I went out in the market looking for a job. I got some responses through somebody, maybe referral or so. So I got a job in that business school. So I started teaching there, again, my business strategy and stuff. So this is where I actually hone my communication skills. This is where I build my confidence, because a lot of the time, maybe you are one of that who is using or who are facing lack of confidence when it comes to public speaking. I hear this a lot. I'm good at speaking, but may not be good at public speaking. This is where the scary part comes in. This is where one of the common fears people face. So I worked on that really for a year and 2 years. So I honed my skill, and I really coped up and came up flying colors. My students were happy. They were getting like really good results and things like that. So after doing that, what I was thinking is, as I said, I started that, but again, at the back of my mind, I was always been entrepreneurship skill set. This is what I should be more focusing on. I don't want to work for someone else. Why? So then I started exploring the market. What's going on? How many people are there looking for job? Maybe they are stuck. This is why they want to work for someone else. Maybe they might have some kind of a skill set which they can start their own business. So I was like, okay, great. Now I have got technology skills. I have got management skills. Why not go ahead and help people out there who do not want to go ahead for the job? Rather, they prefer to start their own business. So I started exploring more. I came across with different freelancers, maybe coaches, consultants who are doing some gig works for a couple of hours or some small jobs they're doing. So this is all they are getting business through referrals mostly, and they do not have online presence. So I was like, okay, why not go ahead and help those people who have already got the skill set, who knows what they are doing, and they are actually solving some kind of a problem in a really good manner. So that sounds good. Okay, so then what I did is I started reaching out to those people, try and help them with their website, try and build their online presence. When they have their online presence, I help them with their LinkedIn. Because a lot of the times I have realized that people haven't explored the LinkedIn yet. Again, LinkedIn, let's not take LinkedIn as one of those professional resume social networking website. Not really. A lot of people out there, you can actually make strategic connections through LinkedIn. And obviously, when I say strategic connection, nobody wants to be sold in one message. Don't try to be salesy at one message. LinkedIn is all about building your relationship for long term. When you see a connection, your strategic prospect, okay, go ahead, check out their articles, check out their post, check out what's going on in there. Just add some value, throw some love, some likes and things like that, and then send a request so that, you shouldn't be trying to sell something. You are just trying to build a relationship. Have some, couple of messages exchange with that prospect. And then you talk about how you can help them. What problem are you solving? What solutions have you got for them? So this is how you basically build a long-term relationship through LinkedIn. This is what I'm helping people out with. Well, that's one part of myself. And the other one is I'm also a mindful decision-making coach. So how did that started? The technology side and the mindfulness side. Those are, two different sides of myself. So basically, back in the days, about 11 or 12 years ago, what happened is my mom went out to a tour. It was basically a spiritual tour. They were just roaming around, it was a group tour roaming around and visiting different Sikh temples, which we call it Gurudwaras. So they went there and she really got sick. So I don't know what happened, and she could not even walk at that particular point of time. So she had one of my aunts together with her. So then my aunt checked it out. My mom wasn't well. There was something wrong. So my aunt said to my mom, okay, why don't you lay down? And she did not touch her. She did not do anything. All she did is she did some kind of a prayer. And after about maybe half an hour, my mom got up. When she got up and then she was all fit and fine, she started walking. So when they came back after all the tour, she told me this is what happened to me. And one of the ladies out there, she helped me to come up with this. So then I started asking, what happened? What was the magic? I mean, what really made you got up within the half an hour? She could not even walk. Then I went on and spoke to my aunt. I was so curious. to understand and know what's going on. What did you do to my mom? And then she told me she was initiated and she learned cosmic healing. So I was like, what's that? Because, since engineering is in my blood, so I was more into, changing energy from one place to another, cosmic energy here and there. So I was really interested to learn more about it. So I was like, okay, I really want to learn that. Then she said, okay, why don't you go ahead and join one of those workshops, and then you might be able to learn it. Perfectly fine. So I went there, I started practicing it, started meditating over the years. So for the last 10 years, I have been practicing meditation myself. And I have actually seen changes in myself. Either it's personal level, relationship level, professional level, and things like that. So even if you are a viewer, if you're finding any challenges or anything related to stress, maybe anxiety, depression, or anything of that sort, I would really recommend you to go ahead and try meditation. Okay, why not? Let's do quick meditation for 3 minutes. Since we are all here, let's invest 3 minutes, just 3 minutes. I'll guide you through, and then just try it yourself and see the difference how you're feeling. Okay, let's do this. Sit straight, back straight. Let's do it together. Back straight. I'll guide you through just 3 minutes. Close your eyes. Breathe in. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Hold the breath. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Relax. Relax. If you have any thoughts coming, just witness and let go. Relax. Do not hold on to anything. Just let go. Relax. Relax. Slowly come back. Move your fingers. Rub your palm. Touch your face. Open your eyes with a smile on your face. How are you feeling now? I hope you enjoy it. This is one of the techniques you can try it yourself. This is called stress buster. You know, if you come across with any issues, any concern, any overwhelm activities, if you have a lot of information on your head, you can't focus this, just try this. Invest just 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes on yourself. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Just be in the present moment and see the change in yourself. I'm pretty sure that would add value to you, personally, professionally, in your decision making. This is what this is one of the techniques which I train to my clients. Please let me know in the comment when you get time. Yep, that's a long story short. So this is how I help, and definitely we can discuss more. Abraham?
Wow, thank you so much, Dheeraj, for sharing that beautiful meditation and your story and how that came to be a part of your life, where you're teaching and the gift of mindfulness. And I think that's amazing. I followed that meditation and I found it very grounding, and it was
Exactly.
that was exactly what I needed.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And this is what I usually hear, because today's time of stressful environment, this is what most of us need, So all of the people out there who are watching us, I would strongly suggest them, just try this. Invest 2 to 3 minutes on yourself, even if you're not even if you are having issues getting sleep, or stress, or depression, or overwhelm, or any kind of that issues, definitely I would recommend that. It has tremendously helped me over the years, and this is a proven system of mindful meditation, so I highly recommend. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. And I wanted to tie this bigger circle I'm seeing together. It was kind of the crux of everything you were saying about LinkedIn is relationships. And I want to
Exactly.
ask you about that more, but I want to hear, where does one's own, my experience, the individual, whoever it may be, if it's me or you, where does the individual experience of mindfulness come in relationships?
Well, when we talk about mindfulness, first of all, we got to learn whatever we are looking outside, everything is within us. Even if we say God or any spiritual term or anything outside, spiritual powers or all, 7 chakras and 5 bodies and things like that, everything is within us. So when we do that mindful meditation, what you actually do is you live in the present moment and you connect to your inner self. If you relate that to your relationship, what it is, what we have been talking about for the last an hour or so is all about, building relationship, helping people out. So it's inner self to inner self connection. This is basically the mindful connection is. So when you awaken yourself and when you go deep in and connect within you, then you have broader aura, then you have more unconditional love for the people out there, then you are more open to help people out. And this is how you basically start building your relationship, irrespective of whatever platform you are. So even when we focus on LinkedIn, definitely, as I said, nobody wants to be sold on, one message. It's not about selling all the time. It's about building relationship. Why? The question is, the people you are connected to might not be the right person who is actually looking for your services, but the person may be one of his friends, colleagues, or referrals. They might be looking for your services. Or maybe not now. Maybe a year down the line, 2 years down the line, you might end up some kind of synergy at some level. So people will come back to you, who that person is, who is Abraham, who is Matthew, who is Dheraj, what they are doing, what they are up to. Just check out, build relationship. This is what it is. Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So there's a question that comes in all of this. What is your vision for the? Actually, no. Just what is your vision? Like when you hold the LinkedIn and the mindful meditation and everything else that's going on in your world, in your experience, what is it that you're building towards? What is the vision there?
Exactly. The building towards this, because it's a two completely different aspect, but at the end of the day, both are connected to humans like us. So my vision to help people out there, not only in terms of their business development, but also in terms of their personal growth, their relationship, they have, sweet relationship. They can love people out there. They can, burn their stress. So when we talk about business, or even if you're working for someone else, stress level is there. So these two things, when I'm helping my clients or people out there, I'm helping them with their professional development, which is business side, and their personal side. So that goes hand in hand, business development and mindful meditation. So you can basically enjoy the glory of both sides of the self. Does that make sense at all?
I feel like it does. I'm not quite connecting all the dots. I guess maybe it would help you understand where the question kind of comes from for me. So I was in a very similar position to you, where I was in the business world and I was like, why would I work for someone else?
Exactly.
Nothing that they're building appeals to me. Like their vision doesn't inspire me in any way, shape, or form. And I see a lot of that in the Western world in particular, where it seems like there is no vision that inspires us as individuals to actually collaborate in a way to work towards something bigger than ourselves anymore. Um, maybe it was the American dream up until about the 1950s, 1960s, but it feels like the people who actually got the American dream got it and then realized that, oh, it's not everything it cracked up to be. And now it's kind of like, well, okay, what am I actually doing this for? What am I here for? How is this serving me at all? How is this serving humanity at all? What are we working towards? What are we doing here? And so I guess that's kind of the bigger question is do you have a bigger vision that we're all working towards together in what you're doing?
Yeah, but if we are focusing on spirituality more, I guess the sole agenda for today or for everybody, whatever karmic relations we have had, any person you come across in this life that must have some kind of karmic relation with you, and what you are. We are a divine being and we are here to give love. This is what it is, basically. So when you spread love, okay, it's a part of a life, since we are in this life, we got to do business or we got to work somewhere or we got to earn living some way or the other. But if we talk about our spiritual self, the inner consciousness, who we are is more about giving love outside. So that's the higher vision of the self, unconditional love. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I kind of feel like we as a society have forgotten that, and I appreciate that reminder.
Yeah. I agree with that. We got to know that, and remember it all the time. It happens.
Mhm. Now seems like a perfect time to bring.
Let's bring Patrick back in here.
Yeah, so my battery in my laptop died. I had to jump onto my phone, so I've never done this on my phone before. There we go. You got it. Thank you, Abram.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick.
Hey,
Hi, Patrick. Welcome back.
I'm glad I'm awake because Dheraj, your thing was so relaxing. I thought I was about to fall asleep.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So we were talking before the episode that usually somehow there's an arc or a theme that develops without us trying to, and I was just talking about the strength of relationships, but also showing up in our relationships, and I see I see both of you sharing that same thing, and I appreciate it, and I want to give you an opportunity to just to connect dots among. Is there anything that stood out with what Patrick was saying, Dheeraj, or Patrick? Is there anything that stood out with what Dheeraj was saying? Is there anything that connected with you?
Yeah, I think all of it. One quick, simple example is even just talking about how we're all interconnected, and what Dheraj does is I connected with you guys through LinkedIn. I had posted some things about my book and my story on LinkedIn, and somebody else picked up on that and connected us, and that's how I'm even on here today. And kind of a testament to exactly what he's talking.
Yeah, basically, I think this is the need of the hour, because we can't, go out and meet in person. So the online presence is one of those tools we have to connect remotely, irrespective of wherever we are, and just helping people out and add value some way.
Absolutely, it is interesting how the whole world has had to pivot, and it's like I'll just talk personally for this one day movement. Originally, I mean, I'm based in Nashville. We're starting this movement here in Nashville. However, with COVID, first we were focusing just locally. I was walking into churches, synagogues, Hindu temples, Buddhist centers, and meeting community leaders and all over Nashville and surrounding areas. And when COVID happened, it was like overnight. It's like, oh, well, we're going global. Like, instead of focusing locally, we went global because everyone was at home. And so it's fascinating. It's like, and I remember I've had a lot of conversations following, digesting this new experience of the world. And one person told me relationships is the new economy. It's like who you know and and not only who you know, but who you lift up, who are the people that you contribute to. And it's like, and I'm seeing this like bigger opportunity as humanity to actually intentionally show up for each other, for our neighbor, whether even if they live in our street or if they live in a street around the world. To me, it's like that's kind of what I'm seeing. It's like everything you were just saying about LinkedIn, and it's just with relationships. It is when we are willing to see and experience our neighbor as human and as possibility, and that's why I see there's so much opening for connection, for collaboration, for community. So where do you? I'd love to just ask you both, like, where do you see this new era headed? Like, what era do you see us creating with this new experience of the world? Let's twist it off its axis a little bit.
Yeah, I guess in some way I'm thankful to COVID. Because of that, the way I said it, it's like the whole world has become a small village, and now everyone is connected on internet, either through Zoom or different platform, wherever you call it. So the relationship building has grown really from one part of the world to another, which wasn't the case earlier. So since you talk about pivoting, this is what I see as, everyone is connected from one end to another, and definitely, adding value to other person or the person at the other end in some way. That's really good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. How about you, Patrick?
Yeah, it's amazing to watch what's happening and to put it in a bigger perspective, because we almost forget what we didn't have. And not only because I'm 51 years old now, so I was around before the PC existed, or, cell phones and whatever, and seeing all this technology, but I'm also a tech geek. My career job, as I have worked in the corporate world, has been to be a computer programmer, and I know more about that stuff than I probably should. But knowing that Facebook, just started in 2007, and a lot of these online platforms. I mean, yeah, MySpace was around before then, but the growth of these platforms and this ability to even do this, what we're doing right here today, is really brand new in a lot of ways. It's in its infancy, and it has been, and we've barely been figuring out how to use it for these first period of years. And obviously it's gotten more sophisticated quickly, but with COVID right now and other things and all the civil unrest and other things going on, we're seeing how, first of all, we're seeing how much greatness there is in people. Just like I was sharing the way the community came together for us, the way the community is coming together for each other. Parades for healthcare workers, for people's birthday. People are, people are getting down in their stress, but we're also seeing people just come together in a way that's just so amazing, so cool. And we're learning how to use this. And I feel like right now, maybe one of the things COVID's doing is almost taking all this online interconnection we have, with the ability to have meetings like this or be on social media, and it's gelling it. It's almost like this is taking it out of its infancy and showing us how to use it right. Get away from the bullying and all the negativity and the vanity, come together as people, and use this platform to spread good messages and spread hope and, fight against some of the bad things too, but in positive, constructive ways. And I think COVID is, among other things right now, is forcing us to do that more than we have before, and forcing us to be aware of it and talk about it. And of course, it's all about relationships, are all about communication. And the more we communicate and the more we talk this stuff through, the better we're going to get at it, and so this is so important that we're doing this. We're learning these tools, so seeing shows like yours come around and grow, and do this, it's just so amazing. It gives me so much hope. It makes me feel better and better about people and relationships and humanity, because we do just keep improving. When you see things in a small little nutshell, like an event of a given day or week, it can seem really bad. But when you really look at the long term of humanity and where we've come from and where we are, you see that there's more good than bad out there in the world, more good people than bad, and you see where we just keep evolving, we keep getting better, not without our problems, and there's still a lot of problems to fix. I'm not naive or pretending everything's great, but we're better than we were, and we're getting better every day. And this technology and shows like this and the things that are going on, I think it's just contributing to that more and more and more.
Yeah, there's something I'd like to add to that. Time doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is, like, I used to get caught up in, I need to do this so I can have this, and then I can do this, and then I can, there was an order to things, right? Mm-hmm. And what I've found is that order isn't nearly as important as I think it is. That often what's being built isn't being built this piece and this piece and this piece. It's kind of being built all at once, just in different moments of my life. And so the online, like what you were just talking about, Patrick, about learning how to use these platforms, that we're still in our infancy. And yeah, absolutely. And it's like all the stages of our development are happening all at the same time with different parts of the society. And then, like the relationships, both the relationship with myself feels incredibly important, and my relationship with my community and my family and my friends. And in some ways, like, I have this tendency to get caught in this idea that it needs to be the relationship with me, like that needs to be developed first, and then I can go out and develop a relationship with everyone else. but that doesn't really feel true. It's more like what's happened with Facebook and with YouTube and with LinkedIn and everything else, where it's all happening at once. And, you know, some aspect of my inner relationship may not fall into place until I develop a relationship with one of you guys and I realize something out there. And then that relationship kicks in. So like I just like to throw this out there that to let go of timing. It's just this general invitation to let go of timing and trust that where you're at is perfect for where you're at and what you're learning and what you're becoming. And hold on to that bigger vision.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying, and if I'm understanding you right, I totally agree, because it's not like you can do just one thing and then say I'm going to do this and then this from there and then this from there, you know. And like an example in my life that I think goes with what you're saying is we didn't know my wife Melanie was going to die. You know, I mean, we knew she had cancer and we knew some things were dire, but we still thought we had, you know, even in her last months, we still thought we had 5 or 10 years and maybe they'd find better treatments, maybe, you know, and then you're growing, but then in a very short, quick period, all of a sudden she was taken from us. And, you know, you don't just have that, okay, we're going to raise our kids together and then we're going to move on. Now I'm raising the kids alone. You know, she's not around anymore, but, you know, she's still in us. She's still part of our life, and her spirit's in our spirit. I see her spirit in my kids. So we're all still living together and, you know, we're still building, but we didn't have that option to say, okay, we're going to do this for this number of years and then move on, because, you know, life just has its own ways of taking that away from you, which it's still great. You still build on it. You still move forward. You still stay positive, but you know, you don't have a lot of the choices. You got to take what comes and then just keep moving and building. But yeah, you got to do lots of things simultaneously at the same time. So I feel like I get what you're saying there.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I am like so happy to have had both of you share. Dheeraj, would you like to add anything to that before I close it?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I mean, the vision, the Matthew, which was talking about, definitely at the end of the day, it's a long term thing, and in this particular point of time, because of what's going on of the world, it's always to go out there and help people as best as possible, because all of us have got some kind of skill set some way or the other, and which definitely people out there do not have and looking for your help. So that's my, maybe a closing thought or whatever. Just go out there and help people as best as possible. And I believe in karmas. Whatever you do to others, that's going to come back to you many folds. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I really get that, and I appreciate that. You know, it's what we get, what we. it all comes full circle, and I think it's beautifully said. I want to leave it at that, because that was very well said. I really appreciate you, Dheeraj and Patrick, for sharing with us and just holding this space of people sharing their gift, and everybody has a unique gift. And even if we don't even recognize it yet, there's something we have to, like what Dheeraj was just saying. It's like somebody's looking for what you have to offer in your soul and in everything you do, but in your soul, and you are the answer to someone else's problem.
Exactly.
And we don't always recognize that or see that, but it's true. And it's like, most of the time, myself included, much of our lives, we will go trying to be something to somebody else that we think we want to be. And ultimately, it's just us embracing who we actually are, and we've always been, that actually gives us all we want and more, and everyone we know around us. So it's like it's a beautiful thing to really recognize and experience that. And I really appreciate you saying that.
Sure.
So thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Dheeraj. I really want you both to come back and share some more with us soon. This has been a really amazing conversation. So I honor you both. I really I just value your sharing, and you're sharing value with our listeners and with us. So just thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks a lot, Abraham. Thanks a lot, Matthew. Thank you, Patrick. Nice meeting you all. Take care.
Thank you.
You too.
Until next time.
So thank you everybody for tuning in with us. We're back on Thursday with some more guests. This has been an awesome conversation. I want to thank our guests again. With such a great conversation. But that's what is upholding our vision is people like Dheeraj and people like Patrick. Our vision is humanity rising in a connected world with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. And that's where we're standing. That's the space we're holding. There's everybody, you, I'm talking to you, every one of you have a gift that makes our world better. And I want to help you and focus on that, because it helps me and it helps you and it helps him and it helps her and it helps everybody. When you see who you truly are, when you see your own unique divine expression of the universe within yourself, we are all better off. And I just want to say thank you everybody for tuning in. I love you all. We will see you on Thursday. None of this is possible without your supporting us. So please get in touch with us. Go to our website, onedaymvmt.org, to get involved. We have a bunch of exciting things coming really soon and some announcements that you'll hear about very shortly. Take care, everyone. We will see you on Thursday.